introduce Niels Serup, who's going to tell us something about concieggs, an extensible IRC bot with an attitude. So please give a hand to Niels.
Hello. So before I start, I want to stress that this concieggs is not my creation. I am merely part of the team. So here are some of the names contributed. Way more people have contributed. This is just like some of them. I didn't really think about who to mention. So more people, though you can actually look at the GitHub page at the end. So more people. All right. Communication. What is communication? I don't know. In total, so I did some research and I found that in total there are 4 kinds of communication. So we have human to human, we have computer to computer, we have human to computer, and we have computer to human. That is all of the possible communication types. So the interesting parts are actually the 2 final ones. That's what I'm going to focus on. So the idea is that when you are a human, you communicate with a computer by entering text, for example. And computer communicates to a human by showing text on a screen. But the interesting part is when we combine the 2 and I enter text on my keyboard and the screen shows text back. So this is interactivity. That's really the point of this. But we can extend this. So instead of doing human to human, we can do humans to computer to humans. So it's not just interactive, it's interactive on a level of multiple people. And what I'm going to focus on is this IRC bot. IRC is a chat protocol. It's internet relay chat, and a bot is a robot. So essentially, it's a program running on a server interacting via the IRC protocol with actually humans. So yeah, okay. So first a bit of background. My name is Niels. I was born around 1992. I was a finalist in the 2006 Danish Championships in telling H.C. Andersen stories. I did create burgerforslag.dk. Burgerforslag is a variant of borgerforslag, except everything is burger-themed. I did go to the cinema recently. In the movie was all right, but it could have been better. I own a bike. Here's a picture from my bike. And here it is a bit closer. So this is actually very nice. I think it's pretty stylish and also very practical. Here's a selfie. Yes. I went to the bar last night, and so this is me this morning, and I'm fairly tired. I still am. So sorry if I don't really make sense. Okay. So concieggs. As I said, it's an IC bot. I think it's from around 9 years ago, I think. The programming language it is programmed in is, well, several actually, many. The core of it is mostly in shell script, C, and GNU org. All of it is egg-themed, so you might see it as an egg pun here. And we have more of those. You could, so right now it's not really nicely decoupled. So you could, if you try, separate it into 2 parts. There's a core, which is the functionality for just running any basic IRC bot. And the core is actually fairly nice. I didn't design it, so it's pretty good actually. And then we have the rest, which is the actual content, so what you actually need to have any good features at all. And that's, well, it's a bit of a mess really, but it works all right for some reason. So the basic usage for people who are not used to IRC-bot is we have this channel. I am Niels. I write concieggs : and then some kind of command, and then concieggs replies. I will demo this later, but that is the basic usage. Okay. So, what is the purpose of communication? I thought about this a lot, especially last night, and I did not reach a conclusion. So I thought I would kind of limit the scope of this a bit. So what is the purpose of concieggs? So originally, concieggs was used to manage the payment of lunches at the University of Copenhagen Computer Science Department. Yes, okay, so actually, in total, concieggs has managed more than 100,000 kroners of just buying things for lunch. And the final launch was around 2017. After that, it kind of died. But I mean, the IRC bot is still running, so I'm not really sure what the purpose is now, except that well, it's still here. So I don't know. Actually, I thought about this a bit last night as well, and instead of saying that there is no purpose, I think it's more fitting to say that concieggs is a postmodernistic, nihilistic piece of art. I think that's a better description, actually. Yeah, okay, so I cannot stress enough that this is very bad. So we have actually 50 open issues on GitHub, and well, I don't think most of them will ever be closed because some of them are kind of hard to solve, and still I cannot stress enough that actual people spend actual time on this. So the only thing I'm happy about is that I am not the contributor with most commits. It is this guy up here. That is my only salvation right now. But still, I cannot stress enough that actual people spend actual time on this, and they really should not. Oh, yeah, okay, so this is actually the core part of the presentation. So the interesting part of concieggs is how it's structured, so the architecture of concieggs. So I did the ls in the directory, and you can see there are some folders and some files, and it's a bit of a mess, but let's go through it step by step and see if you can figure it out. Okay, so when you have an IRC bot, the point of it is it has to first of all connect to an IRC network. There's a protocol. It's actually very nice, very simple. After it has connected, it has to join channels. A channel is a place where you can chat. So you might have a channel for Bornhack, or you might have a channel for Perl or whatever. So it's kind of themed. And after it has joined the channels, it has to listen and react to user input. So there are many ways to do this. Many IRC bots exist. Concieggs has a specific design that I'm going to talk about. So this is really the core part of concieggs, these 5 lines. So this might be a bit hard to read, actually, if you're not used to shell script. And also, it's a bit small, so let's make it bigger. So we have 5 lines here, and the important part is really that this is kind of cyclic. So when you look at this tail .-f, it reads from out file, but at the end of the pipe sequence, it also writes to out file. So we have this cyclic behavior, so it just keeps going. The event processor takes care of handling, well, events. So whenever you write something, event processor will say, okay, this is a message, we should send this to the message handling part of concieggs, for example. We also write things to standard error just for debugging, seeing what's going on. So actually concieggs runs in a tmux on some random OpenBSD server. And we throttle it a bit because we want to be nice towards IRC servers, and sometimes, so some of our commands have a tendency to output a very large amount of text, so it's very nice to just kind of say, oh, we won't output too many lines per second. You don't have to understand this, actually. Oh yeah, so apart from the core part, we have these two parts, IRC loop and event processor. So IRC loop is a very kind of bad loop. So the entire point is that we have this this IRC client called SIG, and we use it to connect to our IRC server, in this case freenode.net, and sometimes that crashes. So if it crashes, we sleep for a few seconds and then we connect again. It works all right, actually. But the important part is the event processor. We have this GNU org script which handles the different, so IRC has different kind of messages. So you can have a kind of command. So you can have a command describing that someone joins the channel, or describing someone leaves the channel, or describing someone writes a message in a channel. So these are the things that you can happen. And this script takes care of noticing these actions and handling them correctly. Okay. Yeah. The nice thing about SIG is that it's a very small client. It's a sockless IC client. All right. So concieggs consists of different parts, and the easiest part to explain is the command part. So this is what I wrote earlier. You log onto the IC channel and you write concieggs : space and then some kind of command, and concieggs replies. So this is a command telling us what is currently on the radio. So I want you to notice that we have Danish variable names. This is a design decision. So usually when you write programs, you want people all over the world to be able to use them, understand them, and we don't really care, I think. Yes, so I'm going to demo this radio program right now. Let's hope it works. Oh, this is not it. Okay, so usually when concieggs is on an IRC channel, it might end up actually bringing a bit of chaos because people can abuse it to a certain extent. So I have made great care to set up a secret channel and a secret server so that people cannot abuse it during my presentation. So let's do this. Concieggs radio. My favorite radio channel is called Radio Alpha. So let's see what's on. Yes. Okay, so right now Radio Alpha is playing a playlist of the best songs ever, apparently. What? Oh, okay. But this works all right. So let's say. Yeah, okay, so the next part is actually hooks. Yes. So the thing is, you can write a command to concieggs, and concieggs will reply, and that's fine. but that's not really enough. One of the important features we have is that concieggs can react to any content on the channel, even content that is not directly sent to concieggs. So this is a hook called 70 lol. The 70 part is the Unix standard of kind of saying this should only be run if after any earlier numbers. So this is actually shell script, and we have this lol function which will output either lol or lol or lol or even ruffle or ruffle mao. Yes, let's demo this. So let's say someone writes this. This is our dog command. It prints a nice dog, and then someone thinks that is nice. So let's write lol, and then I hope concieggs will also. Yes, but it is random. So if I do it again, it might change. Let's see. So as I said, that this is running on an OpenBSD machine and it's very slow. Lolon, yes. So we use this feature a lot. We have many hooks. Yes. So actually, what I said earlier about commands was a bit of a lie. So actually, commands are not primitive. So in the design of concieggs, the concept of commands is not a primitive. Commands are implemented through the use of hooks. So we have this run cmd hook, which essentially looks at every line from IRC and checks, okay, this line, does it start with concieggs colon, or does it start with concieggs comma, or does it end with comma space concieggs? And if that is the case, it treats the content of the message as a command. And this is a bit simplified. The actual run CMD is a bit larger. But the core of this is that we have this parse down here, the parse thing, and this is a Perl script that someone wrote. I don't really like it, but it's fairly useful, and we use it a lot, too much perhaps. So one more thing that we support is filters. We introduced this feature, I don't know, 5 years ago. I remember it as a big revelation that we can actually change every single output of concieggs. So the idea is that usually what happens is there's some text and concieggs prints it. So you run a command, and the command outputs some text and to send it out, and concieggs make sure to read this and output it on IRC. But what we want to do is to place a filter or one or more filters in the middle of this process. So the core of this is we have this here. So apply db filter. Make sure to apply any filter that is currently enabled. And the important part here is that for every single line, we do check if it's Christmas, in which case we make sure to make the line more Christmas themed. And this is really, actually, yes, this is run for every single line. So that might be a bad design decision. And the interesting part is also down here, we have to generate, so instead of doing this nicely, we call Python to generate some shell script that we then eval. I think this might be my code, actually. Yeah, so let's demo this again. So now we're going to demo some filters. Let's see. So we have many filters. One of them that I quite enjoy is that you might know in Norway they have two official languages, bokmål and nynorsk. And nynorsk is by far the most fun of those. So we have this filter, hver nynorsk, which is essentially concieggs turn into nynorsk. And this is actually not nynorsk, it is approximation. I think this is just a script. Let's see. I'll just try to find it. Oh, this is, whoa. Yeah, so essentially we just have a list of registers. Yeah. Yeah, so whenever someone mentions a country, it is transformed into Norway. Yes. We also have, this is also a very nice filter. You can ask concieggs to turn into a bear. So it won't actually, it will, what? No, that's not right. What? Okay, well, this is also nice. This is international. We can ask it to be J-pop. Yeah. So actually, I have questions for later, actually. Okay. So next up, oh, right. So the problem is the existing features that I've mentioned are all right and work. However, you might want to program in a language that is not a scripting language like Python. You might want to program in a language that is primarily used for compiled versions. So we do have support for placing a program in a special compiled directory, and then the actual command is a single line file calling this compile shell script. And the compile shell script makes sure to look up the source file in this compile directory. So in this case, it's a Pascal file in a Delphi mode. So this command, oh, sorry. What? This command essentially recommends a piece of art if you ask it nicely. And we have this compile shell script is really a mess. The idea is that it looks at its own file name, in this case anmel, and then it tries to figure out, do we have a source file in the compile directory that has the pattern of anmel dot some kind of source extension. Yeah, so this, when everything comes together, we do have, it's almost like we have this emergent behavior of every part of concieggs contributing to the whole. So we have the core that takes care of just setting up an IRC server. We have commands that make sure to you can actually run something, and hooks that tries to make the experience more organic, making sure that concieggs sometimes does some things that you don't expect it to. We have filters that try to improve the experience, and then we have compiled programs that essentially enable more kind of languages to the experience. So I want to demo this complex behavior. So let's see. No? What? Okay. So I think one of the good commands. No. This is a secure server. How? Okay. Okay. Okay, so what do you have here? Oh yeah, this one is nice. We have this tryllekunst, which will make a magic trick, I think. No, okay. So the thing is, when you run a command, it has to finish before concieggs runs the next command. So it can only run one command at a time. This is actually a nice part. So it's very easy to reason about. So currently, some guy is running this Jeopardy command. I think maybe the network is a bit slow. Yeah, it didn't work out. So we have this timeout. Oh, that's abracadabra. So we have we had a problem recently, maybe a few years back, where we had some commands that ran forever, and we had to manually kill the server. So instead, we introduced this timeout feature. So if a command runs for more than 30 seconds, it is killed. It is a good feature. What is going on here? Okay, so this is actually just to demonstrate a filter. This is my favorite filter. This will do everything in all caps. And the interesting part is not that it does this, but that it is programmed entirely in Emacs Lisp. So currently, since we have this grel filter, which is all caps, since we have this for every single line that concieggs prints, it has started and closed an Emacs instance. So we actually have this concieggs Emacs library, which I think is somewhere around here. Yes. So we have, oh, this is bad. So we have this directory called Emacs Lisp, because it's a pun. And then we have this file here. So this is run on every single line currently. But let's move on. I think. Oh yeah. So the important thing when developing software is not actually the technical part. The important thing is how do you incentivize people to contribute to your project. I found this image on the internet. I'm sorry for the bad quality, but I couldn't really figure out how to do it in GIMP. But okay, so the red person is me, and all of these other persons are people that I try to ask to contribute to concieggs and might do so if I ask nicely. I think that's the interpretation. As I said, the core part of concieggs is in shell, GNU, org, and C. The remaining part of concieggs consists of Python, Haskell, Go, Perl, TCL, PHP, Java, Brainfuck, JavaScript, Ruby, Pascal, Emacs Lisp, F#, Standard ML, and so on. I think this is only about half the languages we currently have. And of course, the important part of this is when you want to attract new people to your project, you have to make it easy for them to add value to your project. And our approach is that we allow whatever language people are most comfortable with. So if some guy comes up and says, well, the only language I know is Visual Basic 6, then we will say, okay, we will install Visual Basic 6 so that you can program for us. I think this is a pretty nice approach. Okay, so my claim today is that the continuous integration is a bad thing, because recently, back in February, I woke up a bit late, and the first email I read was that Travis had told me that a build was broken, and that was a bad morning. So I don't really like these emails, so I think it is bad. However, so what is the actual approach in concieggs? So we don't have any continuous integration. We don't have any really testing. The approach is that you program some command or some filter or some hook, and then you commit it, and then maybe it works. And I think this approach is facilitating a fairly good. People are actually committing because they are aware that most likely it won't work, which I think makes the process more easy to do, because all committers in concieggs commit bad code. So there isn't really a good code. The standard is very low, so people won't actually be afraid to commit, I hope. So I want to talk a bit about RASH, which is a feature of concieggs law. First of all, RASH is not an acronym. It is RASH, and it is based on the word that means you have a rash. So the entire point is that it's not very nice, and it shouldn't be very nice. Yeah, so the entire point of, so I designed RASH 4 years ago, and the entire point of it was that the actual features that it implements are nice. However, the syntax is extremely bad. So the entire point of it was that I wanted someone to make something better. So I did this like a kind of protesting that why don't we have this feature? Why haven't anyone made this a good part of concieggs? However, 4 years later, no one has actually made a better version yet. And I mean, I even left in hints in the source code like this: no special characters can be escaped. That's terrible. I mean, it's just such a basic feature, and it would take me 30 minutes to implement, and still it's not in there. And actually, I'm a bit disappointed in my fellow concieggs hackers, because someone should really just improve on this. Oh yeah, the motivation is that. Yeah, I have time. The motivation is that you can save state between calls. So sometimes you might want a command, a feature that is kind of keeps state across several calls. So and the design is I take the bad parts from shell and the bad parts from assembly. However, it is written in Haskell, so the actual source code of Fetch is very nice. I did take care of doing that nicely, because I expected someone to improve on it, which they didn't. So let's demo this. Okay, so I think someone already someone tried to run Jeopardy, but let's do it again. I think this might work. If it's not working, we will do something else. Yeah, it might not work. It worked yesterday, I think. Maybe I broke it again. Oh, okay. So Jeopardy is a RASH script. So in this case, it asks us to find a question for the answer that is a Swedish football player that plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach in the German Bundesliga. So what I can do is, this is still running. This is still, well, it's not actually running, but this is part of a sequence. So let's say, what is, I can actually, who is Kalleson? This is a Swedish name, I think. What? Let's do this instead. Then maybe this works. Well, no, of course it's Oscar Wendt. So just a quick look. Let's see if I can find it. Jeopardy. So this is the actual Jeopardy REST script. So you have this, as I said, it's a bad combination of shell script and assembly. So we start by getting some content from the Danish Wikipedia, and then we jump to this label down here, where it will try to cut out the important parts of the Wikipedia page, I think. And okay, yeah, okay. So the interesting part is we have actually a loop, I think. Yes. So whenever someone doesn't guess correctly, it will jump back to this label here, and it will loop until someone actually gets the answer right. I think. The code is online, so you can check it yourself. There's actually okay documentation for REST. Yeah, so the important parts are we have comments and assignments, we can run programs, and we can redirect standard in and print to standard out. So we have the basic features all right. So someone should really just make a wrapper for this into something nicer. Whenever, so actually in this piece of code, for example, we have here read guess. So this will read from IRC whatever someone's guesses and put this in the get variable. And how this works is that whenever you guess something, the command starts up, batch starts up, reads the current state, which is saved to a file, and does some computation, and then shuts down. So we have no background processors. This is entirely, the entire point is that we save state to the disk, and then read it when we run the command again. This is a fairly simple design, and it's much nicer than having strange background processes running that you don't really have control over. It's a bit slow, but not too much. So I want to end by comparing concieggs to other technologies. So I realized that Slack is a very modern piece of communication. However, it is very bad. So, for example, creating an IRC bot is very easy. You just fork our repository. So I did try to read on the Slack webpage some documentation, and you have to actually physically click with your mouse on this website and create something called a bot user, and it takes multiple steps, and I couldn't figure any of it out. Running it is also easy. You just say, well, you just run the concieggs script. However, in Slack, you have to set up some events API. I don't even know what that is, and you install the bot through a workspace. I don't know. Maybe it's a channel. Of course, concieggs is entirely free software, and Slack is not. And you're also cool if you're on Cia. You're not cool if you're on Slack. So at the end, historic events I didn't mention. We did have some controversial changes through the years. Just one of these is probably so. It used to run on some GNU Linux thing, but Troels moved it to OpenBSD, and that caused a great deal of problems. There was also a very large commit at some point where one of my friends made sure to remove all white space in all files. It didn't break anything, but it's kind of strange. During our lunch days, when it was actually used for something, this spot, we had some problems with an international student who kind of left but had already paid. So I made a shell script for redistributing his wealth to myself and some other people, and I think that was also a bit controversial. I think I gained like 20 kroner, so I don't know. And these other parts, you can probably ask trolls about those. We changed, so for example, I mentioned this sick IRC thing, and we changed that. It was originally something else, which was different. I don't really remember that part. So future work, we still have these 50 open GitHub issues, and you can just go into the website. I will show a link and fix those. Always looking for new contributors. We should probably have a logo. I don't think we have a logo. We have talked about this for a few years. It would be nice to have some kind of asynchronous behavior so that you can do a feature where concieggs waits for like 30 minutes and then does something. We believe we can emulate this without messing the architecture up, but we haven't actually tried to implement it yet. My personal opinion is that this concieggs IRC bot should probably be retired at some point. I hope so. So if in 10 years I'm still on IRC chatting with this bot, please stop me. I don't really have any conclusion, but you can visit this webpage and look at the source code. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Niels. Any questions?
Thank you for a very good demonstration and interesting talk. I would like to ask about the demo 2, I think, with the filters. When you did nynorsk first,
yes.
Then you did bear behavior. Did you have both nynorsk and bear behavior at the same time, or did bear turn off nynorsk? The behavior of nynorsk.
Sorry, so I'll just check what is on right now. Okay, so I'll just turn it back on. So sorry. So your question was?
Did when you turned on the filter for bear, did it turn off nynorsk?
Yes. So so actually I didn't. So let's try this.
Yeah.
This is the bear filter, and I don't know why this doesn't work. But the entire point is that when you turn on a new filter, the previous filter is disabled. Okay. However, you can. Oh, now it's actually bear. Okay, so someone fixed this right now. But yeah, it turns off the current filter. However, you can actually do this instead, where you say, be also nynorsk. So this will apply the nynorsk filter after the previous filters. So you can have a chain of several filters.
Yeah. So you can also do the sequence of filter execution in that way.
Yes, you can determine the sequence as well.
Thank you very much, and thank you for a fantastic talk.
Thank you. I think we also have support for Google Translate. So now I'm trying to make it English. See if that works. Yes. So this is actually sending everything through Google Translate. All right. Let's see if this works. Yes.
Any more questions? No? Yeah, you have another question.
Regarding the compile part, do you need to precompile the things before you put them, you install them, or does the thing compile it by themselves?
So it currently works by you only commit the source code.
Yeah.
And then whenever when you run it, the command for the first time, it will check, do we have a compiled version that has a timestamp that is not earlier than the source code file timestamp.
The make sequence.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So this should work.
Fantastic.
I have a question from IRC, Schwartzsmith, that says, why should concieggs actually be retired?
Sorry?
So why should concieggs actually be retired? That's the thing you say, it should be retired at some point.
Oh,
right?
yes, that is the most controversial part of this presentation, I think. My opinion is that it's not so much that the bot should be retired, it's more that the people using it should be retired.
That sounds a bit like 1940s. No?
Well,
Okay, fair enough.
So let's see if this works. It should access. Whoa! This is from the Danish Wikipedia, except it has gone through some filters as well.
Yes? Any other questions? No? Then I would like us to give Niels a very big hand for this very inspiring talk. Thank you, Niels.